Hey Lansing, this year's Creative Placemaking Summit is different than any years past and you don't want to miss it. My name is Lexi Rosado. I'll be your virtual MC. What that means is that every single day when there is an event happening at different locations in our city, I'm going to give you the rundown on where to go and what to expect. For today, we are currently at the Shiawassee Bridge right by Rotary Park. There's going to be an unveiling of this lovely artwork by Alexandra Leonard at 9:45 with a press conference. And then at 10:45, you are going to hear an amazing discussion of panelists that receive the Impact Arts Grant. They're going to be discussing, and you're probably going to see some familiar faces, so you don't want to miss it. We'll see you later today.
Good morning, and welcome to the kickoff of the 8th Annual Creative Placemaking Summit. I'm so happy to be here with you all on behalf of the Arts Council Greater Lansing's Board of Directors. My name is Lola Robison, and I am the Director of Marketing, Customer Experience, and Public Information at Capital Area Transportation Authority and the Board President for the Arts Council. Isn't this a great place to start our creative placemaking journey? As most of you know, the summit is stretching over 5 days this year, and we will be holding sessions and events at locations throughout the downtown area. With all the changes we've seen in recent years, we felt a more intimate and locally connected approach to the summit was the perfect way for us to get together this time around. This year is a retrospective looking at what the creative placemaking movement has been to us and what the future generation could hold. As a longtime resident of the Greater Lansing region and a member of the Arts Council Board, I have learned over the years that creative placemaking is a key component of making communities that people love, that they want to be a part of and be connected to. We have so many creative spaces in our region, like this one here at Rotary Park, and many others that we'll be visiting this week. These are the heart of the community, welcoming people near and far. It's in these spaces that conversations happen, collaborations and friendships get built, and visions for our future unfold. Over the years, we've seen our local artists and organizations use creative placemaking to make the region truly unique and a reflection of who we are. But we've all changed, and it's time to see what comes next. This year's summit is a 5-day exploration of where we have been and what our experiences have taught us about where we want to go. Thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoy this year's summit, and now I will turn things over to the Arts Council's Executive Director, Megan Martin.
Thank you. And I love the barking of the dogs. That's such a nice welcome I don't usually get. So thank you for that, and thank you, Lolo, for welcoming us here today and for the support that you give to the Arts Council and the work that we do. Hello, everybody else. Thank you for coming out for this wonderful occasion and the launch of the Creative Placemaking Summit. If you haven't had a chance to check in, go grab your badge for the rest of the week, and we'll make sure that you get to see all of the great events that we do. And welcome to Rotary Park. As Lolo said, what a beautiful morning to unveil this amazing public artwork behind me and to kick off the 8th Annual Creative Placemaking Summit. I hope you all grabbed a delicious cup of coffee and a bite to eat from Blue Owl, we're so grateful to have here today, giving us some warm treats to keep us warm. I'd like to start by thanking some of our people that made this summit possible. First, our impact sponsor, Capital Area Transportation Authority and Lansing Board of Water and Light. I appreciate all of your support that your organizations have provided over the years and all you do to lift up arts and culture in our region by putting arts and culture and our local artists first in your community projects. I'd also like to thank this year's distinguished sponsor, MSU University Outreach and Engagement. We're so grateful for your sponsorship of this event and the commitments to arts and culture in this region. Next, I'd like to recognize the wonderful group of people who have dedicated time, energy, and passion to the growth of this event and creative placemaking as a movement in Greater Lansing. We're fortunate to have members from all over the region sitting on our Creative Placemaking Summit Steering Committee, and we couldn't create this event without them. Our committee member to please wave your hand and be recognized, because I do really appreciate you. Thank you. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge my amazing team. Communications Manager, John Gorman, Membership and Program Manager, Taylor Haslett, Photographer and Graphic Designer, Ryan Logan, and the person behind this event, Program Assistant and Creative Placemaking Summit Lead, Tabor Vitz. They all love to do this work, and they do it lovingly, connecting all of you to grow the creativity in our region. So please give them that round of applause. So here we are, our 8th Creative Placemaking Summit. This event has become such an important part of the work the Arts Council does in the region to support arts, culture, and creativity. And we're truly grateful for the ways in which everyone embraces this movement. We have seen it bring art into our communities in so many beautiful and creative ways, and all of you are here at the core of its momentum. You make art happen here, and it's something you should be proud of. As for this year's summit, I have to say I'm inspired by the truly unique experience we have created for you this year. The way in which it all took, the way in which we all look at the world and our place in it has changed so much for everyone. And we see that affecting the way that we look at creative placemaking too. To honor new ways of gathering and uplifting our communities, local organizations and businesses, this year we were meeting up at spaces around Lansing to take a look at and talk about what placemaking has done for us and our communities. This will set the stage for beginning the process of envisioning where we want to go next as creative placemakers. I want to thank all of our wonderful venues for participating and sharing their unique creative spaces with us all. What a great way for everyone to appreciate and enjoy the many arts and cultural organizations we have in our region. Shout out to Rotary Park, Riverwalk Theater, the Robin Theater, Lansing Public Media Center, and Reach Studio Art Center and Urban Beat. Make sure you all grab a program for the details on the full schedule. There's also a QR code that takes you to our Lansing Placemakers website if you want to learn more. If you have no idea what the Creative Placemaking Summit is and you've been wondering what I've been talking about, please visit that website to find out more. So to get things started, it's time for the unveiling of this amazing arts impact project behind me, brought to you by the City of Lansing. It has been a true community project and labor of love, envisioned and led by arts impact artist Alexandra Leonard. And I'm pleased to invite Mayor Short and Alexandra to talk about this beautiful and unique creative placemaking project funded by the City of Lansing Arts and Cultural Grants. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to let Alexandra do most of the talking on the piece because she's awesome. I do want to say a few things. We know that that art is tremendously important. Well, you're all here for the creative placemaking. I don't have to explain that to you. But when I came into office, Lansing had some art, but we wanted to really increase that. We put together an art policy, we put together an art commission, we put together now an art board for the city. We renamed our neighborhoods. First we created a neighborhoods department, then we renamed it the Department of Neighborhoods, Arts and Citizen Engagement. I have my director here, Delisa Fontaine, so wave. There you go. But it's tremendously important, and we know that. We know that it shows the vibrancy of a community. So we started on a whole variety of things throughout the city. Now, who here is actually from Lansing or the Lansing area? All right, everybody here from Lansing and the Lansing area, I want you to think back. Think back about 4 years ago. What did this look like? Okay, everybody who laughed, you're from Lansing. This is huge, right? What did we do here in the Stadium District? We created Rotary Park with the help of the Community Foundation, who put a lot of money into it, with the help of a lot of those sponsors. We put in a beach that we were criticized for, but now everybody loves it. We put in these lights in the walking path. Every time we do the river run, or I just sometimes want to go for lunch and sit out there, and there's tons of people walking through. This is vibrancy. This is placemaking. People want to live here. They want to live in the stadium district. They want to come here. We're redoing the pedestrian walkway. If you remember what that looked like, or if you walked through it, you're going to be really happy when we reopen that. So every year we put a lot of money into arts. We do that on purpose. It's intentional. And I get to look at many of the proposals that come to me, that come to our arts board. And for this one, we had some really good proposals. But we looked at one and we said, tiles on the Shiawassee Street Bridge? How the heck can that work? Couldn't believe it. It was fascinating. And after we talked it through, we said, that's it. That's the one. Because that will increase the vibrancy of this area. That will be something to show off. You know, we've got this Shiawassee Street Bridge, which had nothing. Now you're seeing murals. We're doing concerts under it. We do that through our parks department. But this was just the coolest concept. This was engaging people in our community. Alexandra didn't just want to do this herself. She wanted to bring in so many people in Lansing who visit Lansing. And we thought, all right, you know, you'll have some folks. But now I'm understanding is about 2,000 people who participated. This is community. And this is placemaking. So when you talk about creative placemaking, this is about as creative as it gets. So I am tremendously excited. I didn't even look at my talking points, so I apologize. But I am tremendously excited that today we're able to unveil this. It's a little longer than we thought. There was a small pandemic involved, in case you missed it. But I'm really excited. I've got a tile here. My wife and I, and my daughter, and my son, we were coming through here, just normal, you know, walking through, and Alexandra was here, and they said, come make a tile. So I did, and my daughter made one, my wife did. So this is tremendously important when it comes to community, when it comes to our neighborhoods and our visitors. So I am ecstatic to see this being unveiled, and now you're going to actually hear about the process that it went through and the results. So Alexandra, I'm going to have you kind of talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm Alexandra Leonard, and I didn't really write a lot of talking points because I realized I can talk about this project all day long if I want to. But I was thinking as I was walking over here, when this grant was announced, it was February 2020, and we were here, it was freezing cold and really windy, and I remember having a hard time getting a picture because our hair and everything was flying everywhere. And then we're like, okay, this is great, let's go. Because there was nothing really to see here at that point. And, you know, placemaking to me revolves around community and revolves around, you know, creating a place of significance where normally you would have just walked by this plain wall and not paid any attention to it. And when I go to different cities or see different spaces, without art on them, I love thinking about the potential of what could be there. What could you put on a space? I would love to put tiles on pretty much everything, and I like experimenting in my house about, well, maybe I could put a tile on the ceiling, or maybe, you know, maybe you could just make a bunch of trim everywhere with tile. And so I found a note that was actually dated somewhere in my stuff, and it was dated almost 10 years ago, and I had written out a couple of sentences basically perfectly describing what this project is. And I did not realize that I had been thinking about something like this for that long, and at that point I definitely didn't have the skills or knowledge as to how to do that. And so I had a background in college of art and ceramics, and then I had a different career for a while, and then totally shifted 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, and found a fantastic mentor who taught me how to do residential tiling. And because I knew artistically I could create tiles, I can create things out of ceramics, but then I didn't know, well, how can you put this outside on a bridge that moves, a bridge that's almost 100 years old? there were so many factors to think about in terms of the function of how is this going to last in a place that freezes and thaws every year. There's mosaics in a lot of southern places, but they don't experience the freeze and thaw that we have here in our lovely state. And so that took a lot of research to figure out how to properly adhere something here. And then also, 3 weeks after I received this grant, the pandemic happened. And the whole idea here was this is a community project. The whole community is in their houses. How can we do this? So I took a bit of time brainstorming. Well, you know, we'll have to slow this down a little bit. And I don't truly know how long. I didn't really have any idea how to estimate how long it would take. And so yeah, then near the end of the summer, 2020, I got involved in Old Town in some parking lot dance parties that were happening at a socially distanced level, and some friends got me involved in doing these tile workshops. I didn't yet have my spiel down on how to tell people, but I just started going up to people saying, hey, you want to make a tile for this thing? And they're going, okay, like I don't really get what this is for. And I'm like, don't worry, you'll give it back to me. I'll dry it out and glaze it, and sometime you can come see it and figure out your tile you made, you know, at this point now 2 years ago, some of them. And so anyhow, yeah, nearly 2,000 people have been involved in this. I really got into doing these workshops. They're so much fun. It's so much fun to talk to people about how this process works, teach them how ceramics works from a distance. When this whole time we were installing, a lot of people thought we were doing a painting. Many people have been like, oh, you're still doing that tile project? And I'm like, yeah, it's a little different than just painting a mural. There's a little more involved in it, but yes, I'm still doing it. And I guess I had never done a project that was so on display in the middle of installing it, but I have really, really loved this process. People walk by all the time and they stop and look at things, and we're just working along, and we invite them, you know, stay and look at it as long as you want. We're doing stuff, but we'll chat with you about what we're doing. I invite people if they want to put a tile up when they're walking by. And we've just talked to so many different people from all over the place. We were talking to some folks from India. There were some people from Malaysia, I believe, and people from Lansing. I mean, all sorts of people just coming by like, wow, this is so cool. I haven't really seen anything quite like this. And sometimes they're looking at it from far away, and then it's like, wait, look at each one of these tiles. There's thousands of works of art throughout each one of these. And I have so many stories in my head of what people told me they put on their tile. You know, there's couples who, you know, wrote their anniversary date. There's one that like comes to mind where this couple told me on their first date in Florida, the woman got stung by a jellyfish, and so a jellyfish has always been like the mascot of their relationship. And I'm like, that I never would have known that if you hadn't told me all about that. And there's so many stories like that that I would like to continue to share as much as I remember them. And to me, that is what makes it so important. It makes it so connecting. And I just love the idea that people can come back here, that kids that put their handprint on a tile can maybe come back here with their grandkids and say, I made that when I was a little kid. And to just have that sense of connection to this place and to have experienced what making art is like, working with people who are not artists, and adults especially. It's so much fun for people to get their hands in the clay or be unsure about it. I don't know what to do here. I'm not very artistic. And I'm like, well, just, play around with these tools. If you mess up one tile, that's fine. Make another one. I can break this up if you really don't like your tile, because all of this is like fantastic material. And watching people just get into it. Sometimes there would be like, the dad who was waiting back while his kids or wife finished a tile, and I'm like, well, I'll just set this right here, and you can think about if you want to make one. And then, like, usually they would make one and come up with something really cool, and I'm like, see, wasn't that fun? So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I guess this project, I knew it would be a ton of work when I had this idea, but also knew that this would be something that could last a really, really long time, and that I just thought would be so special for people to be able to come back here for as long as we're around and see and know that they were a part of this, or that they got to be an artist for something like this. Even if you can't make a giant thing like this, you can have your tile in it and find where it's a part of it. And to me, that's a great metaphor for what community is. And that connection is so important, always. So, thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Lolo and the mayor and Alexandra for coming out to celebrate the mural. If you want to learn more about this mural, you can go to the Shiawassee Street Bridge Mosaic Tile Project. You can find it on Facebook, follow along with what Alexandra has been doing. You can go to the Arts Council's website at lansing.org or go to lansingplacemakers.org, where we have all of our previous Arts Impact projects listed. So speaking of that, we are going to cut a ribbon to celebrate this momentous occasion, and then we will have everybody join us for our first session of the Creative Placemaking Summit, where we bring together all of our past Arts Impact Project recipients.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My name is Delisa Fontaine. I am the Director for the Department of Neighborhoods, Arts and Citizen Engagement for the City of Lansing. And I am joined up here by our wonderful speakers, our artists, and I will ask each of them to introduce themselves for us, please.
My name is David Such.
I'm Fred Hammond.
Ivan Eiler.
Jose Moore.
Dustin Hunt.
Hi, I'm Dominic Cochran.
Yeah, where's Alexandra?
Oh, there you go. We got a chair for you. I was just wondering where you were.
I'm Alexandra Leonard.
So I just want to take a moment to please remind everyone who is here to please scan the QR code. It will link you to our Arts Impact Project information, give you all the great goodies about everything, all the behind the scenes stuff and all the projects. So make sure you scan that QR code when you have a moment, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So artists, I'm so glad to join you up here, and I'm kind of going to fire off some questions to you, and you don't have to answer them in any particular order. We don't have to go right down the line. Anyone who is ready to answer, feel free to grab the microphone and just take it away. Don't hold yourself back, and give the people what they want, right?
All right, you got it.
So we'll start here, and we'll talk about let's talk about a little bit about your Arts Impact projects. If each of you can tell us about your Arts Impact project.
Well, I just talked a lot about my Arts Impact project. It's right over there. So, yeah, I will pass this on to the next person.
Our project is a large scale, and by large I mean 13 stories tall, projection mapping on the Comerica Bank building downtown. Some of you may have seen a sneak preview that we did wintertime a couple years ago. We temporarily brought out all the projectors for one night and did it, and so you can see what it's going to look like permanently if you scan that QR code that Delisa mentioned. So it's basically a digital art piece that will take up the entire 13 stories. It's like an 8-minute film that will probably play once on the hour, every hour for a while. And our plan for the long term is to create a new piece each year that gets unveiled as a part of the Capital City Film Festival each April.
Hey y'all, Jose and myself, we co-founded, co-directed Mural Festival Below the Stacks in 2019, and that was 11 regional, national, international artists coming in to paint 8 different sites across the city.
What he said.
I made the Portrait of a Dreamer, the large metal head with all the gears coming out of it on Michigan Avenue. That was actually a piece I didn't actually know about the art's impact at the time. I learned all about all of that through doing that, but it was actually the businesses down there and the museums down there that all got together and got the art's impact, just saying we want to put a piece of art here, and then I found the job through them. So actually the first time that I pitched and got the art's impact is going to be the one for this year, which will be putting up in the spring. It's a mother tree that's going in Hunter Park. So that'll be the next one coming up.
Hi, Fred and I worked on a project called Encompass Lansing, which is, it's located on the corner of Holmes and Pleasant Grove in southwest Lansing. And it's basically 4 panels that are laid out like the points of a compass, and it's called Encompass Lansing. And it sits on that corner on a 25-foot round pad of cement inside a little like mini park.
Those sound like all great projects. So I guess a question I would have for you is, what was the biggest success of your project that you found?
Well, I keep turning it off. 1, 2, hello. Can you hear me? You know, I think outside of the event, just kind of the, I guess the inspiration after the event. I feel like Lansing has just kind of been, just activated in a way where we were able to invite guests into our community to help talk about our community through their artwork and celebrate our community through their work. I think, and the after effect of that is just murals popping up everywhere. You know, visual artists just kind of thinking differently about their work and where it could live outside of galleries, which we all love, but like turning our community and transforming some of these beige walls or blank walls into, you know, spaces to host their work. So that's been exciting over the last few years to see it. Just more art in the public spaces in our community has been awesome.
I really love public art because it's just so accessible, as opposed to art museums are cool, but I love the idea of just a 24/7 art museum on the side of a bridge or wherever you're walking around, and for people at any hour to be able to walk up and to be able to touch it. And I guess with my medium particularly, I participated in Art Prize in 2018, and it was a hanging piece, and then it was also next to you and invited people to sit down and look up and then really experience it differently. And I realized during that time, actually, the week after I put it up, I got a phone call from my venue, and I had not done something right, and basically a portion of the piece fell and like crashed down. And so I ran there and like fixed it all up, because Art Prize hadn't even begun at that point. So the whole time then I'm just nervous, like, is something gonna break? Is somebody accidentally gonna knock something off or whatever. But then also got thinking, like, I want people to be able to touch this if they want to. So how can I design things that people can come up to and just interact with more? So just engaging as many senses as possible, and in a public space is, to me, the best place to do that.
So I think we touched on it just a little bit, and this would be to all of our panelists, what would you think would be your biggest challenge or your biggest obstacle creating your project?
A pandemic. I think, for me, receiving the notice that I received this grant at the end of February 2020, and then what happened a few weeks later, and then none of us knew what was going on very much. And just thinking, well, I could make this piece myself, but like that wasn't the point of this. And I think also too, just psychologically, like getting myself to get out again. I don't know, socializing was really weird for a long time. And I hardly even wanted to make like social media posts about it, and was just struggling to do that because we were all under a lot of uncertainty and stress.
I'll say there's probably only one thing I can speak expertly on, and that's challenges and obstacles. I think our project's taking the longest, and there's just been a lot of those, and just logistically getting the projectors we're talking about are like 300 pounds each, and they're massive. And we do live in Michigan, as Alexandra mentioned, so you have to consider freezing and thawing with delicate equipment, and it's just the hoops you have to jump through to even erect a pole in downtown Lansing, and the different groups that have to come together and approve, and it's not just the city, it's everything. It's all the Board of Water and Light, and we're working with Verizon. They're putting an antenna on the pole, so they were very helpful. But it was just a very challenging project, and I'm happy that we're kind of getting to the end. And it's just, stubbornness, stick-to-itiveness. You just have to keep even if you're only making, incremental progress, you just got to keep at it, and that's something valuable that I've learned through this process, and I can apply it in other parts of my life too.
I would say the biggest challenge for me was just being able to even get to that point in the first place. You see, the whole thing is like, I knew I could do what I was telling people I could do, but if you've never done anything like that before, it's really tricky to get somebody to give you funding for something. And you can just keep going at it until you're blue in the face. There was so many times that I put out for RFPs, trying to get money for funding, trying to get a proposal approved, and then just kept getting rejected. But the thing is, once you get that first one, it gets that much easier. And then you can climb that ladder. So even if you got to take on something smaller at first, just getting that foot in the door to be able to show people, look, I can do what I'm telling you I can do, and this will be good. Just watch me go. So getting through that barrier, that first initial barrier, being able to get in the door to be able to show people what you can do, that was the most challenging thing for me, I'd say. And the thing is, you just got to stick at it.
Before I answer that question, I got to give you just a little background on how David and I work together. David is by far more artistic and creative, an amazing mind when it comes to the concepts and the art and what he wants it to look like. Then he hands it off to me, and I have to make it functional. I have to make it withstand not only the elements, but unfortunately, sometimes the vandals and a lot of other different considerations. So on this particular one, we had to coordinate with not only landscape architects, Board of Water and Light, and a third-party masonry contractor to start. I was pretty happy when it all fit. So I can measure real close and real fine in my shop, and everything looks great. When it hits the field, it's a whole nother ball game. And that's what I worry about is it all going to fit when you've got multiple people involved on a singular dimension? And fortunately, we planned enough, and it all went together. So I was real happy about that. But it is It's a lot of forethought.
A question I would have to the panel, what do you feel the future of public art in Lansing looks like?
I think the future of art in Lansing is good as long as there's funding. I mean, it takes effort and it takes time and it takes material to make art. I mean, I guess you could make some things without all that stuff, but it'd be pretty ethereal.
To David's point, I think until you're actually doing it, it's hard to understand how much it really costs in materials. I'm sure that everyone at this table has experienced it's expensive out there, and art's no exception. So as we're thinking about budgets, let's please keep that in consideration.
You know, the biggest thing is, and I think everybody, you know, you can see this. So when you're talking about the future of art in Lansing, like, you put up a little bit of art, neighborhoods, everybody around there, when they see those things, it gives them a different sense of place and purpose. It makes people proud of where they are, you know, and you can see that all the time. Now, you're in the city, you're always going to have some people that complain or naysay or say this or that, but the thing is, when you see public artwork going up and you see the reaction that people have to that, and you see, you know, what that does to a community, you're going to want more of that. I don't think that we're going to have a problem getting the funding that we need to keep projects going in Lansing. And the more art that we put up here, the more people are going to see Lansing as a good place to be, a destination, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, you know, there's no shortage of creative people in Lansing. And I think as long as the city, our communities, the business owners, and folks realize the value of art outside of just for art's sake, right? Like there's all these other pieces that having a vibrant city where artists feel celebrated and are you know, have the space to create and share their work. It adds to it. It does in no way, shape, or form does it take away from our city. So as long as, you know, folks continue to understand that, I think we'll always have artists. We'll always have good ones. And, you know, my partner here with Below the Stacks is doing work to prepare those young folks. With AOTA, we're doing the same thing, just creating spaces for young people to, you know, develop their chops, and then providing spaces for them to explore and share that. And I think we're heading in a good direction, you know.
Yeah, I think the future depends upon resources, depends upon the infrastructure that supports artists, young to old. I come from public schools, and I was an art teacher for 10 years, and I know the situation, the circumstances of art and design in public schools, and it's kind of dire. And so thinking of just early on supporting young folks in their creative pursuits, and then also supporting like the business around it, because we're all making a business out of this, and providing resources for artists, especially young artists, you know, like teaching folks how to develop contracts, how to price things out, talking about insurance, liability, all the nuts and bolts of going into this creative business. Just making sure that infrastructure is strong, and you know, young folks are able to access that. I think that helps determine the future of public art.
I think that's a great feed into what advice would you give to local artists and artists who are looking to create similar work, who are looking to create public art. What advice would you give to those artists?
Find mentors who can really help to foster your own creativity, who will give you validating words about the work that you want to do. I've had many mentors in a variety of areas, and I've realized over time how important that's been in helping me to develop the skills that I have. Also, shoot, I lost my second point, but yeah, finding people who are willing to mentor you, and oh, I know the second one, just being tenacious, being really willing to work hard has definitely been something that I know has helped me a lot in just continuing to believe in myself that I really can do this.
I think I touched on it before, but I mean, the biggest thing right there would be just don't worry about somebody saying no to you. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. Just keep going at it, because, you know, I mean, as all of us up here know, there's plenty of times that we pitch for things we don't get. And, you know, a lot of times people will see this stuff going up and they'll be like, oh, how did they get there? How did they get that? You just ask those questions. I mean, all this is part of that. You know, teaching people how to go out and actually find. I mean, I didn't even know what a RFP was 10 years ago. Never even heard that. And it's like, okay, what does that stand for? But that's the whole point. You know, Placemaking Summit is something that, you know, is out there to show people this stuff. I was building motorcycles and literally came to the Placemaking Summit because I didn't know what that was, but I knew this was what I was trying to figure out. So just, yeah, figuring out avenues to go down to find ways to get funding for your work, and not being discouraged is the biggest thing. Just, you know, keep at it, and yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, all of that I agree with. I also think for young artists, young creatives, it's important to remember that your creativity is unique. And not everyone has it. You know, a lot of times, especially in public art, your world is going to intersect with all sorts of other worlds and all sorts of non-creatives. And a lot of times they have what they think are the best creative ideas. And it's always important for me to remember that I'm a creative, and it's it's a specialty that I have, and to like lean into that and to advocate for a creative to take creative direction in, you know, a creative project, which isn't always easy. You know, sometimes you're kind of fending for yourself and trying to get the job with folks who are, you know, kind of represented by organizations. They're salaried. You're out here just trying to get a check, or to see a creative vision through in a way where the initial idea maintains the integrity. So I think as creatives, you have like a sort of superpower. And for me, it's been a matter of trying to figure out how to utilize that, advocate for that, lean into that, and really just like try to be the expert creative.
Specifically to creative people here in Lansing, I would say like there are resources, there's spaces in which what you do can be celebrated and will be celebrated. I think sometimes we don't always know about what those resources are, or who to ask, or who to talk to. You know, plug the Arts Council. They're a great place to start. But I mean, yeah, if you have a great idea, it can happen here. And I think the city is kind of rowing, or a lot of the creative community is rowing in a direction to support anything that brings value to our city. So, you know, don't hoard your idea. You know, fine tune it, get it together, but share it with folks. You know, within reason. And tell everybody what you're doing, because there's a lot. You know, that happens too. There's a lot of talk about what you want to do, but in terms of like action, like you can really make things happen here, and that's the beauty about Lansing, I think, is that you can make your idea happen. So I would say don't be discouraged if you're finding it hard to plug in, because there's ways to make it happen.
Great. So definitely find a mentor. Don't be discouraged. Don't take no for an answer. Try different things, but definitely link together with other creatives in the area and learn about the other resources that are available. So that's really great advice. We've tossed around the term public art a lot, and there may be someone walking through or watching who doesn't understand the importance of public art. They just see the pretty pictures and like, oh, okay, and they keep walking. So I'd love to hear each artist and each panelist tell us, why is public art so important?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why public art is so important is the simple fact that you walk into any area where you see public art, or you see a lot of public art. I mean, one, art's just important, period. Art's an expression of, us as human beings. There's beauty in that. But in terms of even like economics, if you're in an area that's full of artwork, you have an automatic feeling of, wow, this is a really nice place. Wow, look at the beauty of this place. Look at the beauty of the people of this place. It's a way, like placemaking literally is putting these things out there and, letting everyone in the area know, like, this is a great community. This is a great place to live. But even if you just live in that area, in that community, those things make you feel that way. Driving by a sculpture, driving by a mural, driving by people doing, public art, like all that stuff, it all just, it's huge for a sense of well-being of a community.
Well, my opinion of why public art is important, I think it's the most important kind of art. This notion of like, fine art being on a wall behind a door, if you look at the scale of human history, that's a new notion. Public art was the first kind of art. So to me, it's the most crucial thing that we could possibly invest in. So,
Alexandra alluded to community when they were doing the dedication out here, and for our piece in Compass on the southwest side, that piece what had community input in how it was designed and built, and it gives, I think, art placemaking gives a community a point of pride for their community, and it lifts a community, and that when a community has art in it, it shows the community that people care about this community.
I think to me, I had not worked on this scale in public while the work is in process. My method previous to this often has been, I love to go in a little cave, don't ask me any questions in the middle, I don't want you to see it in between and ask me what I'm doing, because I don't know some of the time. And then come out afterwards and go, ta-da, here it is. Now you can talk to me about it. But watch being able to interact with people throughout this and also incorporate the ideas that people put into their tiles just really expanded my vision of what I thought this would be. And I knew a lot would come of it that I didn't necessarily expect. And so interacting throughout the process has been really valuable.
I lead these large-scale mural projects with sometimes with students, middle school, high school students. And as we're painting big walls with spray paint, other little kids walk by and you can hear them, they'll say out loud, "You can do that." They're like looking at us like, wow, you can do that? You can paint this big in public and this tall? And it's like, it's a matter of me handing them a can and they say, I can do that? And then you give them some tutelage around that and then they're doing the thing. For me, like, it's not even about the product. It's about that shift in mindset where young folks are saying, I can do that. And I could do that could be the whole slew of things. This could be environmental justice ideas, or, just creating that little bit of spark to where young folks are thinking and feeling and understanding that they can do something creative, whatever the creation is. I think is really powerful, and I think public art is a good kind of reflection of that. If you have kiddos going by pointing at things and just wondering how it was made and why it's there and what it is, what's the context, that's really healthy for all of us. Like, that's healthy for our community, and I think public art does that. And honestly, it's like the cheapest way of engaging and like really building with community in this creative capacity. And I think, it's simple to me. There should be public art absolutely everywhere.
And I know I'm not an artist, but I know my favorite part of public art is the fact that it gives us a chance to slow down and enjoy the moment that we're in. So when we slow down and we see the public art and we are able to take in all the colors and take in all the shapes and admire the beauty in what was created, it gives us a chance in our life to just slow down for just a moment, because we all have busy lives. We're always rushing to something, and I love the digital technology we have, but everything's at our fingertips now. But now we can just take a moment, breathe, relax, and just admire what someone has created. So I think public art is incredibly important. And I agree, we should have it everywhere, because that makes art very accessible to those who are not able to go to art museums, and they think that is out of their reach, and they think that it's not for them and it's not created for them, but this is created for everybody. So I think it's incredibly important. I'd love to ask our panelists, what arts and cultural projects or programs would you like to see more of locally? Oh, it's a fight for the microphone, but please, one at a time.
I mean, just as a fan, I would like to see whatever needs to happen to make Below the Stacks an annual or biannual event. Whatever you guys need to do that again would be, so just ask, because we got to make it happen. That was really fun to see. So yeah, I think just more stuff like that. Like, the fact that murals going up is amazing anytime it happens, but like creating a festival around it and actually events around it and creating memories around that whole thing is really amazing. So just more thinking big like that, doing something that's not just a one-off mural, although we also need that all the time too. Just really investing in that kind of thing would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing right there. That's the thing I'd like to see more of, is just simply more of it, more funding for the arts. If you've got money that's being put into the arts, you'll get the arts. And then even going back to the last question, one of the things about public art is when you think about a place, you're thinking about that public art. You think about New York, you think about the Statue of Liberty. You think about Chicago, you think about the Bean, think about Detroit. You're thinking about the Fist, the Spirit of Detroit. Art makes a place. These murals that are going up, people see that stuff. The more of those you have up, the more people are going to be like, Lansing is the place of art. Like, the thing we need to see more of is just, more funding, more public art. Keep it coming.
Man. So I just want to, I guess, to be honest, what I would like to see more of, and I know I'm speaking with creative people here, so, I don't want to get myself in trouble, and I'm not advocating for hard or saying that I will be doing this sort of thing, but I think art is just messy by nature, you know what I mean? And I think we have artists from, highbrow to whatever else you want to call it, the spectrum of creativity, right? And I think that from graffiti tags to what it is ownership. It's people saying, I'm here, see me. And there's creativity throughout our whole city. And I do think whether it's in a gallery or on a wall that you get commissioned for or whatever, the empowerment that comes by being seen, heard, validated, and having a space to express that, I think approaching art from the context of it needs to be messy in a way for it to be alive. You know what I mean? And so I would say that I don't know if that's, I gotta be careful, how I'm framing this, but I do see that art belongs in the hands of the people. It belongs in the community. It should be public, and it should reflect, people who live here. You know what I'm saying? Regardless if you're sitting here or you're at home, or didn't even know this existed, or this gathering was happening. There's a lot of creative minds here in Lansing, and I think the more we figure out how to explore spaces for everybody to have a creative outlet or a space to be seen, heard, validated, I think we're better off as a community for that. Again, I'm not condoning somebody coming here and writing obscene things on our floor here, or hateful language, but I think just remembering that artistic energy is wild, and it's hard to contain it. You know what I mean? I think if we find a balance to one, allow that to be a part of our community, across the board. When we say we're supporting art, let's just support art altogether, regardless of how it shows up. That's my own radical idea. But I think there's something in there that you have to allow it to be a little wild, and it will be messy. But I think out of that, you think of every society, every community across our country and all over the world, there's art that happens that is endorsed or supported by, those with budgets and those with money. And then there's art that's happening that is not supported by anybody, and it's just happening. But the two work together in a way, because it says that the city's alive. It says that people are here. They care enough to mark their territory. They care about where we're living enough to mark their territory or say that I'm here. And I love that art can do that for folks. I just want to put that out there in the atmosphere, just because I feel like we're talking art and we're with creative people. So, yeah.
So as we close out our discussion, I'd love to hear from each of you what upcoming projects or exhibitions you may have planned over the next course of the next few months, over the course of the next year or so, and also how can people view your art, and how can people get in touch with you? So we can start down at the end with Alexandra and come down this way.
Well, to view my art, walk around the corner, walk along the river trail. To me, that spot is important in that a lot of people have been going, well, where is it exactly? And I'm like, well, you cannot see it from the street driving in your car. You have to walk down here. You have to bike by here. And just go exploring. You'll see all the other art along the river trail or in a lot of other places too, and find things that you didn't know were there. And if you want to follow my stuff online, go to Shiawassee Street Mosaic Project on either Facebook or Instagram. And my name's Alexandra Leonard. So if you search for those things, you'll find me.
So we haven't talked about it much publicly yet, but for next year's Capital City Film Festival, we're going to be announcing this soon. We're partnering with the Michigan State University. They received an amazing grant from the Carnegie Mellon Just Futures Initiative to create a globally curated art exhibit called Creativity in the Time of COVID. And that's going to be, like I said, it's globally curated, and it's going to go on a national tour after the film festival. But the first time you'll be able to see this exhibit, the unveiling of it, will be as a part of the Capital City Film Festival in April. So we'll be, if any of you have ever been to the festival, you know we transform underutilized spaces into cinemas for a brief period of time around the city, and the lobbies of those spaces will also be temporary art galleries where this art can be viewed for the first time. So we're really excited about that, and stay tuned for more at the Capital City Film Festival website and social media channels. And I think I alluded to it earlier, but the Arts Impact Project, the projection mapping project, will also be unveiled conjunction with that, and like I said, we plan on doing a call for entries to create new pieces that will be unveiled each year on the Comerica Bank building downtown. So we're excited about all that finally happening.
Sweet. I'm wrapping up some murals before winter comes. I have one right now. Should be finished up by the end of the week over in Old Town. If you know where the Temple Club used to be, it's happening right there. If you're not familiar with that term, Temple Club, it's across from Prue's Pets. Cool looking mural. And then I have some cool projects coming up in the spring that I'm not going to share much about, but just know there's future projects happening here in Lansing that involve murals and young folks. Yeah, you can check out, just drive around Lansing and hopefully catch one of my walls. We have, through the Mural Festival, we have lots of walls around the city that are still looking as vibrant and beautiful as they were when they were painted 3 years ago. Just check them out.
Not to pontificate any further. No, so our organization, All the Above Hip Hop Academy, we're mentoring youth through hip hop culture, 365, 24/7, you know. So we're, a lot of that's not like public art, but it is placemaking. From our DJs to, we had a big breaking competition out here at Rotary over the summer. It was great. Shout out to Lansing Public Media people. Shout out to Craig. Thank you so much for capturing the magic for us. Thank you, Jason. But I just want to put, just as an idea for somebody out there, in lieu of public art and being able to have spaces to paint, an impact grant idea for somebody willing to take on this is, I just want to see like a wall in our community that anybody could paint. Like literally it's designated for that. Like practice your aerosol skills and your whatever on something that's an open wall, a free wall to the community to put art up. And it can be more than one. Let's put a few of them up there. I guarantee skill levels start to get, you know, when people have opportunities to paint and flex with spray paint in places that are, you know, designated to do so, I guarantee that it'll be a good investment. So I'm just putting that, if anybody wants to take on that project, I'm not doing it, but if anybody is feel, you know, I don't know, you might be able to get a grant for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
I'm saying it's just free.
As far as where to see my work, sculptures around the area. Like I said, I did the head. I'm going to be, as far as future projects, I'm going to be putting a mother tree at Hunter Park. Met with the community there and talked to people, things that were important to them, you know, about, you know, family, community, and just, you know, feeling open. So, you know, through that, kind of came up with this design, this idea for this woman who's reaching her arms out and growing and, you know, kind of transforming it into a tree. That'll be going in the spring. And then, yeah, you can find me online, Ivan Eiler Studios, and see more of my work there.
David, next time you get a project, I'm going to be the first to volunteer to assist.
That's awesome, Fred, because you know, Art Path is next spring, and I'll be looking at that. Fred and I did a piece this past year for that. I'm also working with Friedland Industries and expanding in Art Scrap Fest, and also with Render Studios and expanding the reach of Scrap Fest. I'm always doing art, and I'm currently working on a couple of venues to prominently display art, especially sculpture. And I can be seen at dasuch.com. Thanks.
Awesome. I just want to say a special thank you to all of our panelists. If we want to give them a round of applause, please. Thank you so much for this discussion. Please feel free to follow them on Instagram, Facebook, any socials. And as we discussed, public art is so important, so make sure that you slow down, take a moment, appreciate that. And we heard a great grant opportunity, so if you have a wall and you're willing to donate that wall, reach out to Megan at the Arts Council and we'll make that happen. So thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful day.